I'm going to talk to you today about some offenses that will automatically get your driver's license revoked. I'm working on a series of website posts or articles about that. I've already got some posted up. Take a look at those. But there's some offenses that will automatically get your driver's license revoked. And the thing about it is, these offenses apply whether or not it was in city, state, or federal court. Even a municipal court conviction, if it's final, in some instances can get your driver's license automatically revoked. So yes, even a conviction in city court of some kind of offense can have a huge impact on your life. We all need a driver's license to get around, to go to school, go to work, and just general transportation needs. So this can be an important area for you or somebody you know. So by the way, the U.S. Supreme Court has held that a driver's license is a privilege and not a right. So all the more reason to try to keep your license if you've been charged with a certain crime that may get your license revoked. If that's the case, be sure to give me a call. I'm Tulsa Defense Attorney Stephen Cale. Give me a call at 918-277-4800. Now, today I'm going to talk about driving under the influence of drugs. Okay, so the Department of Public Safety is required to revoke your license if you get a final conviction, not one that's on appeal, but a final conviction for driving under the influence of drugs. And I'm going to kind of break that down just a little bit. By the way, it is not a defense that you were prescribed the drug. So if, for example, you're prescribed something by a doctor and you're driving under the influence, you get stopped, cited for that, you can't say, oh, well, by the way, I'm prescribed that medication, so dismiss the charge. That's not a defense, okay? So let's break it down. Driving under the influence of drugs. Statutes can be broken down to elements. Driving under the influence of drugs, or as the statute says, intoxicating substances, has basically 4 parts to it. First, you have to be driving. Now, that may sound a little silly because, of course, you have to be driving to be convicted or charged with driving under the influence. There's other alcohol-related or even drug-related crimes where you're in a vehicle but you're not actually driving. That's called actual physical control. But in this instance, you have to be driving. And the law actually defines what driving is. Driving is operating a motor vehicle while it's in operation. So you have to be driving. What do you have to be driving? You have to be driving a motor vehicle. Now, the law does, again, define what a motor vehicle is. And basically, a motor vehicle is any device that can move people or things on a road or a highway. The law outlines some exceptions to that. For example, a motor vehicle is not a device that's powered by human power. So in other words, think like a bicycle. It's also not something that's on a stationary rail. That could be a train. So a motor vehicle is not a bicycle or a train or something that's powered by human power. Secondly, a motor vehicle is not a vehicle that's propelled or drawn by animal power. So think of a horse-drawn carriage. So if you're going all over the road and your horse-drawn carriage, which I know thousands of people do around Tulsa, of course, but and you're driving or operating that under the influence, you cannot legally be charged with driving under the influence of drugs because you're not driving a vehicle under that definition. Also, things like statute calls it implements of husbandry. That just means farm machinery. Think of a tractor. That does not apply as being a vehicle. And then also specialized machinery like self-propelled wheelchairs or those motorized things for people that need those kind of devices or wheelchairs. So you have to be driving. You have to be driving a vehicle. And now let's go to the place where you have to be driving. The statute says that in order to be convicted, this third element must also apply. You have to be driving on a public road. And when I say public road, that means a public road, a street, a highway, turnpike. It even means a public place. So think of a parking lot, for example. And get this. This is crazy, but it's the law. You can also be driving on a private road, a street, an alley that has some kind of access to a single family dwelling or a multi-family dwelling. So if you're even on a private road, the police can arrest you if you meet all these criteria for driving under the influence of drugs. It doesn't matter if it's on a public road or not, even a private road. I think that's crazy, but that's what the law is. Sometimes the law doesn't make sense. So, so far we've gone over 3 elements. There's 4. So we've gone over driving. What are you driving? You're driving a motor vehicle. We explained what that was. Secondly, you're driving on some kind of public roadway or a private roadway that provides access or connects to a single family dwelling or a multifamily dwelling. Okay. And then fourthly, and there's 2 components to that, they're optional. You're driving under the influence of an intoxicating substance other than alcohol or some kind of combination of that renders a person incapable of safely driving a motor vehicle. So that's that 4th component. You have to be under the influence of some kind of intoxicating substance, but not alcohol, that renders a person incapable of safely driving a motor vehicle. Now, the law defines what an intoxicating substance is. There's a whole list of them. It's hundreds of items on there. But some examples are marijuana, methadone, the psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms, opiates, and LSD. Those are just some examples. So you have to be under the influence of an intoxicating substance, and it can be one of those substances listed in the statutes, or even if the substance isn't listed, there's a possibility that it could be an intoxicating substance. That's because the law says if it doesn't fall within that list, then an intoxicating substance is any substance other than alcohol. And here's the language, which is capable of being ingested, inhaled, injected, absorbed into the human body, and it's capable of adversely affecting the central nervous system or the vision, hearing, or any kind of the sensory and motor functions of a person. The first thing that I thought of when it comes to that is spray paint. I mean, some people, for whatever reason, huff spray paint. So that's the first thing that I kind of thought of. That's another example of an intoxicating substance that's not in the list. So anyway, be careful if you're going to city court or municipal court. You don't want to just automatically get a plea and do some kind of plea deal and plead guilty, because that will be a conviction and it'll be a mandatory revocation of your driver's license. You really need to have that driver's license. It's necessary for your life. We really need it. These types of charges can be defeated. There's all kinds of ways to defeat that. Even if you do get a conviction, there's a way potentially to get the term of suspension modified. Typically, your license, if you're convicted of this type of charge, it's going to be for 1 year. That's a long time. There's a way to modify that, to shorten the duration of that. But anyway, if you've been charged with any crime, give me a call at 918-277-4800. My name is Stephen Cale. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Tulsa. Take a look at my website at CaleLawOffice.com. There's a lot of good articles on there, some helpful information, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and some other segments on my website.